بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم وصلی اللہ علی النبی الکریم رب اشرح لی صدری ویسر لی امری واحلل عقدۃ من لسانی یفقہوا قولی. The theme for the present talk is Islam and modern age. I think that this topic has two different aspects. One is Islam and modern age, and the second is traditional Islam and modern age. By Islam I mean the scriptural concept of Islam. That picture of Islam which is mentioned in the Quran and Hadith. But there is also another Islam, that is traditional Islam. In later period of history, Muslims added something in Islam, and I call this kind of Islam traditional Islam. So the case of both the Islam is quite different. As far as the original Islam is concerned, there is no problem at all. But as far as the traditional Islam is concerned, there are some problems relating to the modern age. I will discuss briefly both the case. First of all, let us take the original Islam. According to my study and my experience, I can say that Islam is the preserved form of divine religion. Divine religion is nothing but divine religion is based on eternal universal laws. Divine religion is not a mythology, is not based on superstitions. It is not brainchild of any man or woman. It is directly revealed from God. So there is no contradiction at all between Islam and the laws of the universe, laws of the nature. If you read Quran, you will find that Quran gives us only the fundamentals. There is no details, only fundamentals. And all these fundamentals are eternal in nature. For example, oneness of God. Qul huwallahu ahad. It is an eternal truth. It is an eternal truth. So is the case of other teachings of the Quran. So Islam, as was revealed on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was a divine religion without any alteration, without any amalgamation. So as far as the Islamic scriptures are concerned, there is no contradiction between Islam and modernity. But as far as the traditional Islam is concerned, there are some contradictions. So, some Muslim scholars, especially modern Muslim scholars, advocate that in Islam a new movement is needed, that is revisionism. After the advent of science, the modern science introduces a new trend in the human history, that was revisionism. In pre-scientific era, everything was based on mythology, on superstition, on stories. So, after the advent of science, there was a revisionism or re-examination of everything. So it was true. But some people wanted to extend it to the religion. And this extension was not true. I can say that other religions also have developed some changes. So as far as the other religion is concerned, they need revisionism. In other religion, they have developed some changes, some alteration. So they need revisionism, re-examination. But as far as Islam is concerned, there is no change, no alteration. So here the word revisionism has no relevance. Here the word revisionism or re-examination has no relevance. So we need only to rediscover Islam. I can say that in later period of history, there were some additions in Islam. So we have to rediscover Islam in its original form. It is not revision, but it is rediscovery. So what is needed is not revision or re-examination of Islam, but it is rediscovery of Islam. We have to remove all those curtains, and so that we will find the true face of the religion of Islam. But the case of traditional Islam is quite different. Here there are some additions. I will give some examples to illustrate this point. I will give some examples. In 20th century, in early 20th century, there developed a concept of Islamic nationhood. Syed Jamaluddin Afghani and Dr. Muhammad Iqbal and Syed Abul Maudi and other thinkers advocated that Muslims' nationhood is based on their religion, that is Islam. This thinking was quite un-Islamic. In Quran or in Hadith, there was no such teachings. It was a reaction. They wanted to unite Muslims against colonialism. They were fighting against colonial powers, so they wanted to unite Muslims, all the Muslims, against colonial powers. So they said that all Muslims are one. The nationality of all Muslims is one. That is based on Islam. This kind of thinking was wrong. Now we are living in an age that is based on nationalism. In every country, it is accepted that the nationhood is based on homeland. In every country, it is an accepted principle that nationhood is based on the homeland. So here we see a contradiction. Those thinkers like Jamaluddin Afghani, Abdullah Maudi, Iqbal, the nationhood was based on Islam, on religion. But now the modern age says that no, nationhood is based on homeland. So here is contradiction. I would like to say that this was unlawful addition, unwarranted addition. It was wrong to say that the nationhood of Muslim is based on religion. No. According to true Islamic teaching, nationhood is based on homeland. So here we can say that traditional Islam need a revision. This is a problem of traditional Islam and not the pure Islam. So in traditional Islam, we need a revision, a re-examination, so that we may remove this wrong notion. And we can say that there is no contradiction between Islam and modernity. Islam believes in nationhood that is based on homeland. So there is no contradiction. Then you know that in later period of history, Muslim scholars, especially fuqaha, advocated that they divided the whole globe in three categories: Darul Islam, Darul Harb, Darul Kufr. This kind of categorization was not in the Quran nor in the Hadith. But during the Abbasid period, fuqaha or Muslim jurists adopted this formula. They divided into three categories. Darul Islam means where Muslims are in a dominant position, where Muslims are in a ruling position. Where Muslims are in ruling position, that is Darul Islam. And where non-Muslims are in a ruling position, that is Darul Kufr. And all those countries, that are under the rule of non-Muslims, that is Darul Kufr, and all those countries that is under the rule of Muslims, that is Darul Islam. And those countries that are at war against Muslims, those countries are Darul Harb. These three terms were innovation. There is no mention in the Quran or Hadith. So it was innovation. It was bid'ah. So at present, modern mind is not ready to accept this kind of categorization. Modern mind is not ready to accept this kind of categorization. So I would like to say that this problem pertains to traditional Islam and not the pure Islam. So I can say that we have to remove all these concepts from Islam. We have to rediscover Islam in its original form. In pure Islam, there was no such categorization. There was no Darul Islam, no Darul Kufr, no Darul Harb. During the Prophet of Islam and during the companions of the Prophet, there were such countries, but they never adopted this kind of nomenclature. They never said that this is Darul Islam, this is Darul Kufr, this is Darul Harb. So this is the innovation. This is problem of traditional Islam and not problem of true Islam. So there are such kind of issues that were innovated in later days. So I can say that in traditional Islam there is need of revisionism, but not in the pure Islam or scriptural Islam. Some scholars have published some books and articles, hundreds of articles. They advocate that Islam need revision. For example, AAA Faizi, 3A Faizi, has published a book with the title A Modern Approach to Islam. A Modern Approach to Islam. In this book, he advocates that we have to revise Islam. I can say that as far as the tradition is concerned, there is a need of revision, but not in the pure Islam. I have read this book. I failed to find any genuine reference of Quran and Hadith. The whole book is in a rhetoric language. So all those articles are in rhetoric language. If they have mentioned any example, that pertains to traditional Islam and not to pure Islam. Now, what is modern age? What is modern age? According to my analysis, there are three aspects of modern age. There are three aspects of modern age. One is scientific discoveries. The second is modern culture. Third is modern philosophy, so-called modern scientific philosophy. These are three basic components of modern age. Now, let us examine all these three components. As far as the scientific discovery is concerned, there is no contradiction at all between science and Islam. You know, before the advent of science, all the thinking, all the thoughts of men was based on mythology and superstition and stories. So after the advent of science, there was a revision. People tried to revise all those traditional thought. For example, people were believing that for example, let us the solar system. In olden days, people were believing that sun rounds around the earth. That is geocentric theory. So everywhere in the world, people were believing in this theory, that earth is in the center and sun revolves around the earth. But at the time of Copernicus, scientists began re-examining this theory. Then they invented telescope, and after re-examining the whole concept, they discovered that it is wrong. Geocentric theory is wrong. The fact is that Earth is a planet. So sun is in the center, and Earth and other planets revolve around the sun. So the heliocentric theory was established. This is the example of revision. So this kind of examples have no contradiction with Islam. It was not the problem of Islam, but problem of masses. In Islamic scriptures, there was no such mention. So Islam will accept the scientific theory that the fact is that Earth revolves around the sun. So heliocentric theory is heliocentric theory is quite acceptable to Islam, just like other people. So there is no problem. So it is an example from this example you can understand that all those discoveries made by science were as Islamic as it was scientific, because Islam itself is based on nature. Islam is based on nature, based on law of the nature. Islam accepts the law of the nature. What is law of nature? Law of nature means divine law. So God revealed Islam. God revealed the religion of Islam. And it is God who has established all those natural laws. So there is no contradiction between Quran and natural laws. Both are one and the same. So I can say that all those discoveries of exact sciences are as Islamic as they are scientific. So there is no contradiction between Islam and exact sciences. No contradiction at all. Then let us take the modern culture. But the case of modern culture is quite different. According to my knowledge, some aspect of modern culture is Islamic, but some other aspects are not Islamic. For example, according to the modern culture, freedom of opinion is very important. Very important. They appreciate dissent, they appreciate criticism, they appreciate freedom of opinion. So it is quite Islamic. Islam also believes in freedom. Islam believes in freedom of expression. See, there is no contradiction between Islam and modern culture in this sense. Because according to Islam, without freedom, without dissent, without open criticism, there is no development. Intellectual development can be achieved only in an open atmosphere where dissent is not a taboo, where criticism is not a taboo. So it is quite Islamic idea. So this aspect or this part of modern culture is quite Islamic. There is no contradiction at all. But there are some other aspects of modern culture. For example, nudity or free or mixed society, and relationship between boy and girl before marriage, in pre-marriage relationship between boy and girl, or wine in parties. So all these things are un-Islamic. So one part of modern culture is acceptable to Islam because there is no contradiction. But some other parts of the modern culture is not acceptable to Islam because it is against Islamic tenets, because it is against Islamic teachings. So as far as the exact sciences is concerned or scientific discoveries are concerned, Islam accepts all those things. There is no problem at all. And as far as the modern culture is concerned, Islam can accept it only in partial sense. Some part of modern culture is acceptable to Islam, but some part are not. This is the Islamic position regarding the modern culture. Then let us take the philosophical thought, or so-called scientific philosophy. Here I would like to say that I don't believe in scientific philosophy. It is a misleading philosophy. some philosophers have exploited some philosopher tried to exploit scientific discoveries, although this is exploitation. So I don't believe that this philosophy, although they refer scientific ideas, but I don't believe that these philosophies are true philosophy. I will give you some examples. When modern science discovered that the natural process is based on what is called principle of causation. And there is a cause and effect principle behind the natural processes. This was discovered by the science. For example, rain is a result of a long process that is governed by cause and effect. This is called law of causation in modern science. So, philosophers exploited this scientific discovery. For example, an atheist philosopher, Julian Huxley, says in his book, Man Stands Alone, or Religion Without Revelation. So he claims that by referring this principle of causation, he claims that this has nullified the concept of God. This discovery of science has nullified the concept of God. Why? He says that if events are due to natural causes, they are not due to supernatural causes. But this is a false logic. I have analyzed this logic in my book, God Arises. I can say that this is a false logic. Why? Because nature does not explain, because nature is a process. Nature is not a creator. Nature is not a creator, it is a process. So I can say that nature does not explain. She herself is in need of explanation. So the principle of causation is simply a process. It is not God. It is not creator. So what science has discovered is process and not the creator of the universe. There is another issue. So here, in this example, you can see that some atheist philosophers have wrongly exploited these scientific discoveries without any base. Then let us take the organic revolution, theory of organic revolution. Those who believe in this theory, they say that organic evolution, no revolution, So they claim that organic evolution has abolished the concept of God. Organic evolution have nullified the concept of God. Now we don't need any creator. But it is wrong. It is wrong. What is the fact is that during studies, these scholars found that in our world there are millions and billions of species, numerous species. Then they discovered that there is similarity between different species. For example, the skeleton of horse and skeleton of man, both are quite similar. Or skeleton of a monkey and skeleton of a man is quite similar. So they claim that this similarity means that man was born out of monkey and monkey was born out of horse. But it is wrong. I can say that every species was created. Every species is a special creation. Similarity itself is not a proof that man was born out of monkey. It's not a proof. Similarity means the process of the creation was similar. Although this similarity is only pertinent to the physical body. Physical body is quite similar. But man is not simply a physical body. Man is a mind. Man has a mind. And mind of a person is quite different from all the animals, all the species. There is no similarity. All those similarities which they refer pertains to physical aspect of a man. But physical body is not real person. Real person is his mind. Without mind there is no man. And mind of a human being is quite different from all those animals, all those species. So similarity itself is not a proof that we need no God, need no creator. One Muslim scholar, Sheikh Nadeem Jisr, he belonged to Aljazair. He published a book, Qissatul Iman Bain al-Falsafati wal-Ilm wal-Quran, in Arabic. In this book he says that even if it was proved, he said he has not refuted the evolution theory, but he says that even if it is proved, so it is a process. If evolution is proved, so what is proved? It is process that is proved. So he says that evolution has only proved that the process of creation was evolutionary rather than radical. So what is proved, it is only process and not the creation. So he says that belief in God is quite another thing. Because if we say that it was the process of creation adopted by God, he says that we are ready to admit that this was the process of creation adopted by God. But this process itself is not a God. This process itself is not a creator. So I can say that Islam and modern age is, I can say that as far as the scriptural Islam is concerned, there is no real problem between Islam and modern age. There are some problem between traditional Islam and modern age, and it can be rectified by revisionism. Now there is another point. Now, what is modern age? I can say that modern age is not a phenomena of Western life, phenomena of Westernism. Modern age is not simply a phenomena of Westernism. It is a phase of human civilization. It is a recent phase of human civilization. According to my study, when God created man and settled him on this globe, He provided two support systems for man. One was natural support system, and the second was civilizational support system. By natural support system, I mean that all those natural items like sunlight, water, and oxygen, and food and greenery, all those things are natural support system. So God provided this system. Because without this, man cannot survive in this world. The first question was survival, question of survival. So God provided natural support system so that man can survive on this globe. So this was a natural support system provided directly from God. Then there was another support system, that is civilizational support system. God created everything in as a raw material. For example, He created ore, O-R-E, but He never supplied steel. It was upon man to convert ore into steel. So it was required by man himself to explore, to struggle, to convert ore into steel, to convert raw materials into machines. So the first invention was, it is said that the first invention was wheel. And then after long struggle, man invented all those things. Starting from wheel, he invented bullock cart, then horse cart, then steamship, then motor car, then aeroplane, all those things. Million and billion item. It is called civilization. It is a journey of civilization. So it was a civilizational support. For survival, man was required natural support system, and for development and progress, man was needed civilizational support system. So God provided both the systems. So modern age is nothing. Modern age is not a phenomenon of Westernism. No. Modern age is only a recent phase of this civilizational journey. Human civilization is on the journey, on the road of progress. So modern civilization is not a phenomenon of Westernism. It is a phenomenon of civilization. And civilization is a asset of all mankind. There is no contradiction between Islam and this phase of civilization. Then there is another point. This civilization is favorable to all mankind, including Muslims, including Islam. It is not this civilization is not anti-Islam and not anti-Muslim. It is favorable to all mankind. For example, modern civilization has discovered numerous things after long study. And all these things are nothing but the ilm-e-kalam of Islam. In the Quran, there was a verse, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ. It means that in the future, man will discover so many things that will prove the Islamic ideas. Now you know that hundreds and thousands discoveries are quite favorable to Islamic ideas, Islamic teachings. For example, I have published a book with the title God Arises. In this book and also in some other books, I have discussed all those ideas that were discovered by science. And all these discoveries are quite favorable to Islam, to the Quran. So modern scientific discoveries are quite favorable to Islam. They are pro-Islamic discoveries. There is no contradiction. But it was predicted in the Quran that in future man will discover the law of nature, and these law of nature will be will support the Quranic teachings or Islamic teachings. So scientific discoveries are a supporting evidence in favor of the Quran. For example, let us take Big Bang theory. Big Bang theory is quite in favor of Islam. Big Bang theory proves that present universe was not eternal. It was created at a time after an explosion. So when it is proved that at a particular time there was an explosion. So here is a question: who exploded this? Who was behind this explosion? This explosion was an intervention in the universe. So when intervention is proved, intervener is also proved. And when intervener is proved, the existence of God is also proved.